You are listening to Nightmare Road, your podcast for true crime and paranormal events. Proceed with caution, as some of the subjects covered may trigger certain individuals. Now join us as we journey down Nightmare Road.
What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Nightmare Road. I am one of your hosts, Decon, here with a very, I don't even know what to call you now. I feel like I'm running out of things to call you. How about we'll do very extra, and I already used that one. And here's SOS. And SOS. And here we have a very special guest. I didn't know what to call him, and I was thinking about, okay, Kelly, nicknames. And all I could come up with, here's Kinky Kelly. And then I'm like, that's not going to work. I'm like, that's not going to work. So here's Kelly. So there you go.
Yeah.
What's today's topic?
So every time we start the podcast, Decon starts cracking up, and it's like every freaking time. So here we go.
Yeah, I'm over here thinking about, okay, the war in Afghanistan, and then I just burst out laughing. I'm like, you're a sick bastard. But it doesn't matter. We're here.
You are. Well, we have a topic tonight, though, that one of our listeners, YouTubers, said they wanted us to cover, right, Decon?
Yes, they wanted to handle the snake handling and all that weirdness that goes on in the South. Because those Southern people, man, they're just weird.
Yeah, well, I lived half of my life in the South, so I would agree. Yeah, I love it. I love the South. But, yeah, the snake handling, so I know that it's not exclusively an American thing, but it's mostly an American thing. It's related, so it's pretty much started around 1900 when Pastor George Hensley was commanded by God to take up serpents. So kind of interesting. Yeah.
What are they are. It's a certain denomination of
Pentecostal.
Pentecostals. The people that are part of the Pentecostal church, they'll start talking about their gifts, and a lot of them is like speaking in tongues, rolling around on the floor, and whenever I look at them, I'm like, all right, and we have another Sunday here at the Crystal Methodist Church, and just watch them roll around.
Crystal Methodist Church. So he was inspired by the book of Mark chapter 16:18, which says, they will pick up snakes with their hands and they will drink deadly poison. It will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people and they will get well. So the snake handling, what they're talking about too, is not only snake handling, but these people drink strychnine.
Yeah.
They will drink strychnine in their service. Did you see that, Kelly?
Yeah, they drink strychnine and arsenic. They drink
arsenic. That's right. God, yeah. It's just bananas. It's bananas. So I've gone to probably almost every single type of church service out there because when I lived in the South, there's a lot. Oh God, would you get that out of here? So I've been to Quaker. I've been to Mennonite. I like every kind of service you can go to because I've lived all over the country. And the Pentecostal, it's bananas.
Yeah.
It's bananas. The
holy rollers.
Yeah, it's a little too much for me. So
you would look good, Kelly. You'd look good in a really bright pink suit. I could see you out there, like telling
dancing around on
brothers and
dancing around on stage with deadly critters in my hands. Yep, that's my life.
And then I get bit in the face by a snake, and you're telling me don't sue me.
Most of the Pentecostal churches are tucked away in rural Appalachia, and their congregants believe that God calls upon them to handle these venomous snakes, right? So, and we're talking timber rattlers and copperheads and water moccasins and like any venomous snake
Yeah.
that they can capture. And the problem with a lot of these snakes, and one of the reasons why they may not get bitten as much as they do, is that they don't take, according to animal rescue groups that have taken these venomous snakes off their hands, is that they don't feed them and care for them very well. So
Yep.
they're so malnourished
They're
that
lethargic.
they're not, they're lethargic. It's kind of like going to the rattlesnake roundup. What they do is they cool them, they chill them at night in these pits, and then they can walk through them and not get bit, right? But because they're so lethargic, they can't strike.
Man, there's a documentary out there. It's probably the same one that you guys watched, but it was about like the family tradition of the snake handling and all that kind of stuff. And then this guy takes the crew, and this guy, I think he was wearing like a purple suit. I thought he was a pimp from Mississippi. And I was like, oh, what is it? But anyways, he's walking to the back. And the room, I swear it was a refrigerator. I'm like, is that a meat cooler? What the hell is he keeping these damn snakes in there? And then it hit me. I'm like, okay, these damn things, they're tired. They're too exhausted, not getting any heat. So that's probably why they have to strike. So.
Yeah.
They're not taking care of them, and they're cooling them, so they won't.
Chilling them down. But that being said, there's been some tragedy involved here, so we can get into that. But so where's okay? Where are these churches, right? So it says Appalachia to Louisiana, right? So you're talking the Appalachians are like West Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Virginia. But it goes, even some of these snake handling churches, right? They go all the way down to South Carolina, and then they come back down towards Louisiana. So you have this huge swath of the South of the United States where these Pentecostal churches are. West Virginia has probably more of them than the rest of the states, but and they're still, they consider, and so I'm going to share some of these pictures that I have if I can find them. So
Kelly, have you ever been to the South, Mr. Kelly?
Huh?
I've been to Selma, Alabama, and Montgomery, Alabama, and on the Savannah River, and Dixon, Tennessee, and we went to Lynchburg, Tennessee. That's as far south as I've gotten.
Lynchburg, they got really good moonshine.
Well, Lynchburg, it's funny too. It's a dry county.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. It is a dry county. They make moonshine.
You can't have liquor.
You can't have liquor. They made moonshine out of bark. That is crazy, but it's delicious.
Yeah, Lynchburg is a hoot of a little town. If you ever get out there and go see the Jack Daniel's distillery, go see it. It's really neat. But Lynchburg is, it's the size of Caldwell Park out in the middle of town. It's that small.
So here's one of the services, and this is what we're talking about. So this looks like a copperhead to me, and I think it is a copper. No, that's a rattler. That's a timber. Could be. Anyway, that's a rattler. I can see the tail end of it. Yeah. So
it looks like he's like the stunt double for Ed Norton in American History X.
Yeah, he looks like he's thinking about his life decisions right about now.
He's like, if I'm not careful with this snake, he says, I'm not going to make it to the Klan meeting later.
Oh my goodness. So anyway, they're like I said, all these churches, there's still a lot of churches that are practicing this even today, even though a lot of states have banned the practice of even owning a venomous snake. You're not supposed to handle them or own them. Not all states, but a lot of states have. Yeah. And 6 counties in Tennessee specifically have banned the use of a venomous snake in a religious ceremony. Now, there are lawsuits going on right now, and they're working their way to the Supreme Court, believe it or not, because they believe it falls under religious freedom. be able
Oh,
to
yeah.
do this. So I kind of like agree with them in a sense that, man, if you want to handle a venomous snake and take the chance of getting bit, whatever. In a Sarah, I don't know, but I also don't want to see, as much as I cannot stand snakes, I don't want to see them mistreated in these and being handled improperly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I
I don't.
I would encourage, I love the whole thing that they have the snakes. I would encourage them. I would love to watch them like handle snakes and have as a guest speaker Jake the Snake Roberts. It's like have him come down, have him give a speech, give him the DDT. It'll be a good time.
I don't think he'd appreciate that at all.
why not? So the Tabernacle Church of God in Lawful, you guys knock it off. Tennessee still uses copperheads, so they go out and they actually capture copperheads, and then they use them in their service, and they do this like dance, and they do these like circle dances with these snakes draped around their shoulders.
Yeah.
And the copperheads are like just like right here. And anyway, so and then they are passing these snakes around the circles. So it's anyway. Um there's roughly about 125 of these churches in the United States that are still using venomous snakes,
I thought it was
believe it or not.
250. I thought it was
But
250 and then 150.
oh, maybe you found
Died.
something different. I don't know. I mean, there was at one time a lot more than there is now, but there's a lot. I
Maybe
mean, you still.
maybe it was 250 and like half of them died, because they're getting bit left and right.
Well,
Yeah,
um,
I think there was a 250 at one time, and then almost immediately after, what was his name? Hensley got in.
well, there's
Yeah. Anyway, after a while, it kind of dried up, but they're still out there.
yeah. So there was a Memorial Day weekend of 2019 at the House of the Lord Jesus Church in Squire, West Virginia. I lived in West Virginia for a couple of years, and it is a wild place. I'll tell you, it is wild. I do like West Virginia a lot, but it is wild. So this does not surprise me at all. They were using a timber rattler that they caught, and no, it was an eastern diamondback, and this isn't funny. It isn't funny, but it kind of is.
Everybody
Because
get your serious face on.
Pastor Chris Wolford's like flinging this rattlesnake around in this service, and it turned around and it sunk its fangs into his forearm, and he collapsed. His lips and his tongue started swelling. He could barely breathe. He actually lived, but the thing is, with a lot of these churches, they also don't believe in medical
Yep.
intervention.
That's my favorite
So,
part. I
yeah, so you're
I
like
would love to.
handling a snake that like, and then you refuse medical treatment.
Yeah, don't take me to the hospital, and they're laying there, and Jake the Snake
Yeah.
is looking around, like feeling uncomfortable. The Undertaker's there. He's like, rest in peace.
Could you
This guy ends
imagine?
up living. He did live,
Oh,
right?
okay. Never mind.
But 7 years to the day, almost to the day, his brother Randy was bitten by a yellow timber rattlesnake while conducting a revival at a state park in West Virginia. And because he refused the call for an ambulance, he died 10 hours later.
And
So,
that's what's crazy is that these people, they do end up. So they refuse the medical attention, they refuse the medical help and all that kind of stuff. And if you do end up dying, the reason why people don't leave is because, again, I mean, snake handling is a cult. We're going to call it what it is. It's a cult. Just like Pentecostals. If you're a Pentecostal, shame on you. But are you okay? Is that like the blow up doll from last episode? Anyways, so shame on you. But these people, like, if you were to die and you're like, what happened? There's even if it's the pastor of the flock, as they call it, it's because he didn't have enough faith, and that's the reason why he died. So
Right. Or he had so much faith he was called home.
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's kind of like that. Oh my God. I'm sorry, but this whole thing is just so bananas to me.
I love
So
it. Let's go. Let's go on a road trip. Let's go to one of these churches. I see
hey,
SOS dancing with a rattlesnake.
yeah, no,
Then she
we're
gets
not
bit.
doing that.
Then she
Snake,
gets
no,
bit.
we're not doing that. So,
It's my fault.
anyway, Chris Wolford, who did live, right? Randy Wolford died, and Chris Wolford lived, and it was only because his brother died that the congregation finally called 911. They're like, we don't want to lose two of you. We don't want to lose both brothers. So they ended up calling 911. He went into kidney failure, and it constricted like the muscles and the nerves in his body. I mean, it was bananas what this
Yeah, it's
venom did to him.
gross.
But he lived, so I don't know. There was, in February 17th, 2014, there was another pastor of a small Pentecostal church in Kentucky that died after being bitten by a rattlesnake during a weekend church service. His name was Jamie Coots.
Yep.
And he was...
Yeah, he's awesome. I love
Huh?
that guy. That guy's cool.
Yeah,
pastor of the Full Gospel Tabernacle in Jesus' Name at Middleborough, Kentucky. He was handling a rattlesnake when he was bit on his right hand. They did call the ambulance, but by the time the ambulance arrived, he was already dead. So I don't know. So timber rattlers, in California, where I grew up in the Sierra Nevadas, you have timber rattlers, you have Western Diamondbacks, right? And timber rattler venom, I think, is one of the strongest venomous snake that we have, I think, in America, right? Its venom is pretty bad. So usually, and there was another person that was a pastor who was handling a timber rattler, and it bit him right in the artery, right up here, and it was like within minutes he was gone. So
that Boots guy, he ended up dying, and his son ended up taking over the church. He even inherited his daddy's suit. He was wearing this ridiculous looking pink suit that I'm like, I would go. I would wish that guy to die just so I can inherit his suit, because that was a nice suit.
Was that the guy in the suit, the pink suit, or the lavender suit, or whatever it was?
Oh yeah, he wore all the colors. He looked like almost like he picked the color of his suit by like taking a bag of Skittles and like dumping them, and he's like, this one, and then he went into his closet and he happened to have the color. So,
yeah, Gregory Coots was the father of Jamie Coots, and I found that they both got popped for possession and transportation of venomous snakes.
yep.
And Gregory Coots got popped for having 125 of them, and then 74.
You need 125.
Well,
I mean,
it's sexier that way. Could you imagine?
I guess so, right?
If you want to get
a van full of snakes.
Yeah, a van full of snakes. Everybody wants to dance, and then you're like, I'm out of snakes, and they'd be like running at a party, and people are like, you're out. Like you don't want to be that guy. Get me extra snakes. Kelly knows what I'm talking about.
It sounds like drug dealing.
He just goes up and he just goes, and he just shows you all the snakes.
Hey man, you got that snake?
You got the snake? Jake Roberts goes, I got it right in the trunk of the car. Come have a look.
Yeah.
I am going to share this other, because I want to see, so everybody can see what we're talking about with them dancing around with all these snakes. And it's not just men handling the snakes, right? It's women.
It's the women.
Like, it's everybody.
Ooh, those are like wild women.
And these aren't garter snakes. These are all venomous snakes. These are...
And they escape, and a lot of those end up in the Louisiana swamps.
Ugh.
Yep. Sure
do.
So,
1992, this is kind of interesting. Glenn Summerford, he's a serpent handling preacher. He was convicted of attempted murder because he made his wife get bit twice by a rattlesnake. And
I have that down as 1922. I might have read that wrong.
Yeah, I think it's 1992. It said
because in
some of the
1922
members
that's
of
encouraged.
Yeah, right. During the trial, some of the members of the congregation actually sided with the preacher because, and others sided with his wife. Each Summerford accused the other of infidelity and backsliding from their faith by drinking alcohol. I'd be drinking too if I had to handle a snake like that. So, just so you know.
Yeah, I might be hitting the bottle a little too hard if I had a house full of rattlesnakes too. So,
Oh God.
I would get in the middle of that. I would be like, all right, you guys, it was me. I'm sleeping with both of them.
So from what I've read, 92 people have died from being snake bit during worship services.
Yeah.
Now that number fluctuates a little bit. It's like from the 90s up to about 120. But I found documented 92 cases.
And those are the ones that they actually document because a lot of the times those people would cover it up, and then they're like, he had a heart attack, and it's in the South. They don't know their stuff.
Oh God. Way to make friends, Deacon. So they said the first reported death was in 1922. That was the first reported death, and then they go on. It's West Virginia, Kentucky, even down to Florida. There was, I guess, some of these Pentecostals, a church down in Florida, and it's just this like most of them are timber rattlesnakes that when they got bit. Most of it's timber rattlesnakes that are killing them. But I'm sorry, it's just not. This is not right. But like I said, not. I was expecting to find more on snake handling, kind of in voodoo. Like I looked hard for that kind of stuff, and even though they used snakes in some of their services, doesn't look like they were using as much venomous snakes.
No, because the belief system in that is completely different. Like, for example, in a Pentecostal church, they had to be venomous, and and they were used for a purpose. It's like I'm not afraid of these snakes. Well, in voodoo and in hoodoo, in Santeria, I think they kind of got away from that. They stuck to chickens, but in voodoo, they would transfer like evil spirits onto the snake, and that snake was then butchered and thrown into the fire, to kind of represent.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was completely different. That's why you're not going to find that kind of stuff. It's because they weren't looking for venomous snakes; they were just looking for snakes in general.
There are some Native American tribes that have used venomous snakes in their ceremonies. I did find the Hopi tribes that would they would dance with snakes and sometimes even hold them in their mouths.
Yeah,
venomous snakes.
They're probably drinking.
And
that would probably help.
I would. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's the another tribe called the Yokut tribe of California's Central Valley. They used venomous snakes, and it was their practice was a way to prove one's power. So they used them, but so there's a few Native American tribes that I saw. There was a Haitian. There was a little bit of some history in Haitian voodoo, but like you said, it wasn't nearly to like what the American Pentecostals are still doing.
Yeah.
Today.
Well, I found that in Mesoamerica and South America, they worship Quetzalcoatl, which was a giant flying serpent.
Yep, a feathered serpent.
And then I also found that the 2nd century Ophites would do snake handling, and that's ancient Greece. So this stuff has been around for a while.
Yeah, there's where we get
that's interesting.
That's where we get the symbol of the snake in the medical field. It comes from that practice of the goddess of health and basically healing. Was she would take the manifestation of a snake. So when we get when you look at a medical wing or something that has those snakes, that's where that comes from. It comes from that Greek practice.
Yeah, that's what first popped in my head when I saw the image of the bullfights. Was that what it's called? Yeah, the fights. And I was like, oh, that reminds me of the medical symbol
Yeah.
on hospital doors.
Yeah.
Well, it's a bizarre practice. I have you guys ever been to like a Southern revival, like a real revival, faith healing?
No.
Yes. There
Yes.
was a place in Louisiana that was bordering New Orleans. What is that place called?
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen. So they had a tent, we're like, yeah, let's go check it out. And then they were practicing something that they called spiritual drunkenness, where they would become drunk with the Holy Spirit. So they actually would stand there and slur and and yeah, they were basic they weren't drinking anything, but the Spirit got them drunk. It's a pagan practice. That has no roots in Christianity. But I told my buddy, like, I wonder if I can let these guys know. I would stand there and I'll be like, hey, you, and the guy looks over at me and he's like, hallelujah, brother, and I'm like, get away from my woman. And I take a weak swing at him, and then everybody starts becoming alarmed, and it's like, dude, I think we need to stop because they're going to throw us out. I'm like, what? I'm drunk with these guys. I'm the I'm the drunkest guy here. So, anyways, but it was a wild scene. It's someone would bark like dog. It's nuts.
It's kind of nuts. I wasn't at anything like that, but I went to a traditional faith healing tent revival in
Ooh,
Tennessee. And that was really interesting because it's such a it's such a scam.
yeah,
It's such a scam. And people are buying into it, and all it is I mean, the whole thing is a scam, and it's just so you can open your purse strings, man,
yep.
and start just donating that money. It's crazy.
Well, a
And
lot of
people,
that,
they buy into it.
yeah, and some of that stuff, like the faith healer, and I'm gonna say, right away, guys, if you're looking in Christianity and you encounter somebody that's, really pressuring you to give them money like that, it's a scam. But with these type of
Mm.
revivals, what ends up happening is with the faith healers, they'll find somebody that's an elderly person and they're like, hey, do you have issues with your knees? And then they're like, yeah, we do. I do have issues with my knees or whatever. Like, would you be more comfortable? And this is the scam. Would you be more comfortable in a wheelchair? And they say, sure. And then they sit down and they wheel them all the way to the front. And this guy begins to get going and he's sweating. He's sweating. And he's like, right now, I'm going to make them devils bleed, sister. I'm Kelly with the pink suit. These devils are going to flee. And he's like, that's all like, hallelujah, get out. And then he tells her, stand up, sister. The devil's no longer his chains around your ankles. And the lady would stand up, and then he would take her by the hand, and he'd walk her around stage. And she's in a little bit of pain, but she's walking now. She was in a wheelchair. And I was like, whoa, So that's the kind of scam that's going on. It's
I mean, if that makes you feel good and that's what it's all about for you, then and that's what brings you happiness, fine. But I'm telling you that I go to these things and I'm always kind of in the back and I'm just watching people and watching their faces and how they buy into this stuff. And it's like, it's spooky how fast somebody can like be swayed that this stuff is real.
Yeah.
So I was in the service when I went, and I said when I was in the service, I lived all over the South, and I would go to all of these different kinds of things. And because I was curious, I wanted to see what's going on, and I also believe that people are really sheep. So I really wanted to see, and it was remarkable to me. Like some of my shipmates that went with me, who I knew are not religious at all, and watching the change in their behavior and their faces, like they were starting to buy into it. So on the way back to the base or whatever, I'm like, you guys didn't believe that, right? You didn't believe that, right? Because it's all put on. They're like, no. I'm like, no, guys, man. They're really good at what they're doing, and these guys that are up there are mentalists.
Yes.
They're reading the crowd.
Yep, that's exactly what I was gonna say. When they want
It's a giant.
Yep.
It's a giant stage performance.
They're not looking for people that know scripture. They're looking for people that can, read a crowd, that's very boisterous. It's somebody that could like right now feed me something, tell me something, and then they get them
Yep.
going. It's like I think you're the guy for the job. It has nothing to do with them, with their ability to understand or read scripture. It's can you manipulate people? It's a wait a minute, wait. SOS. What is that hoodie I see you wearing there? What is that?
My paranormal hoodie
Oh, that is
for my team.
that is sexy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get one.
Right. Yeah. Yep. So anyway, but yeah, it's kind of bananas. But anyway, I've never gone to a snake handling, and now I really want to go see it because I want to see these people. Now,
Road
the
trip.
craziest service I've ever been to was Shakers in Pennsylvania. The Shakers, because they actually do shake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a thing.
Yeah.
They're shaking and they're going in circles.
Yeah.
And otherwise, they make the most exquisite furniture you've ever seen in your life, but their services are crazy. The Mennonite service that I've been to, like you're in this like straight up and down pew. There are hard benches, like, and you're like this, and it's like 2.5 hours. You can't even move. And I'm just like, oh my God, I can't wait to get out of this building. You know?
It's just interesting. The world out there is wild. We need to start doing like, Nightmare Road trip. Where
Right.
where we
Yes.
go to these places and then we end up roadkill. Probably me. But yeah, we go to these places and just kind of film, and just like ask questions. I think that'd
Yes.
be really interesting. I also want to start a paranormal or have a rivalry with a different podcast and then just do like wrestling promos. And,
I know a podcast that would do that.
oh, you do?
Yeah. The Hollow Boys love wrestling. Guys from Hollow Sky,
Uh-oh.
that's their thing.
Okay.
I'm gonna
There
do
you
that.
go.
Yeah, Kyle's got a nice deep voice on him, and Steve is all about it, so that'd be fun.
I'd go about a different
I'll
way.
film it, but I'm not. Yeah.
I'll do my
Anybody
Paul
comes at
Bear.
me,
I'll be
I'll
like,
probably
oh
just shoot him.
yes, you think that you can defeat the Undertaker? And yeah, it'll get weird.
Well,
What is wrong with me?
I don't know. You have a lot of ideas out there, Decon, but yeah, I have an idea of where our first road trip can be. So, yes.
Yeah.
So, we're headed to Texas.
Oh, I was going to say prison.
Right. Well, you maybe.
Oh.
I'm not going near it. So, but yeah.
Ooh,
anyway, Texas. Chupacabra.
Oh man, that'd be such a good topic, and we can go and find it.
Yeah, well, my friend's got a ranch down there, and he's filmed some interesting things.
All right, so let's set that up, and we got to get you a nickname. What would be a good nickname from you? I keep thinking Kinky Kelly, and I'm like, that's the wrong show. That is not
my stripper name.
That's mine is
stripper name.
Mine is Decon Sizzle Nipples.
Oh my God. There's something so wrong with the two of you. I'm telling you what.
My online handle is Birdie Cuda, but most of my friends just call me Birdie.
Oh, okay. We'll just call you Birdie.
Birdie. All right, there you go.
Birdie. That sounds like a dirty, like a dirty name. Like, hey, have you heard of Birdie?
How did we go down this path?
Mysterious
Birdie.
Mysterious Birdie. Yeah, go check him out. He's got some snakes he wants to sell you.
I got that snake.
Huh?
Yeah. How do I know which one's Birdie? He's wearing a Pepto-Bismol colored suit.
Yeah. Right.
All right.
Oh my God.
Such a good
name. Are we bringing this back around, or are we going to keep going?
Yeah. Well, is the episode over, or are we going to keep going?
I'm much over with the snake handling.
Oh, all right. Well,
I mean, I have a whole list of different deaths we can get into, but let's see. There was the one guy that was bitten in the artery, which I thought was really, I mean, he was dead within like minutes.
Yeah.
Most of the people who have died are men, but not all of them. Like There's Jean Saylor in 1967. The wife of a snake handling preacher died after being bitten by a rattlesnake. And interestingly enough, every single death that I've seen that I researched, they were all rattlers. I guess the venom of a copperhead isn't as bad because they use a lot of copperheads. I do have a story though about water moccasins.
Uh-oh.
So, yeah. So when my dad was in the service, he had to go to, I think it was Camp Lejeune, to do some training down there.
Yeah.
And he did a lot of filming of different stuff when he was in the service because they figured out he had a lot of different talents like that. So, he had to go in the swamps and he was filming a bunch of stuff. And, he sees these guys and they're putting on like these stovepipes, like on their legs.
Yeah.
And they have joints. And they didn't have snake chaps back then,
Yeah.
right? So this is like right around 1950. So he's like, what are you guys doing? And they're like, hey, O'Hara, man, you need to suit up. You need to put these things on. And he's like, why? And he goes, you'll see. So they go into the swamp and they go in about 20 feet and all of a sudden the water moccasins come up and they hit those pipes because they're trying to bite.
Yeah.
They're trying to strike. And my dad, who's deathly afraid of snakes, man, he was out. That was it. He was done.
He's like, no.
He's like, there's no way in hell I'm going to do this.
Or he came in dressed like the Tin Man, like full armored.
Right. He's like, no.
Yeah, I guess water moccasins, they will actively come and get you.
Yeah, I had when I was in West Virginia.
If they see you.
Well, the worst ones were the copperheads. Actually, in West Virginia, we would. I went to a school where we rode horses. I was training with an Olympic coach, and so we had horses that were working really hard every single day. And so we'd walk them down into a creek to get the swelling out of their legs, right? Because these horses were being ridden pretty hard every day. So we'd stand them in a creek, and as soon as the horse would walk into the water, you just keep your eye upstream, downstream, because as soon as the horse entered the water, the copperheads would start coming.
No.
And it was because of that movement in the water, and then they're smelling like a food source. And so they come down, and so you'd watch. You could see them coming because they can't. Water snake's the only snake that can put their head underwater, right? Even a water moccasin, they have to have their head out of the water to swim.
Yeah,
because they can't breathe underwater. So you could see something on the top of the water coming at you, and that's their head. You can't see the rest of the bodies underwater.
Yeah, because
so that's what you'd look for.
They also don't have the membranes to block water from getting in.
So a
lot of snakes
anyway,
keep their head up.
Bring your horse out of the water and walk back up on the bank, and they keep going. But those I don't know. Excuse me, I don't know how people can handle these snakes like this. I don't know.
That's because you have no faith there, SOS.
No, I have none. Nope.
I'll do it. I'll handle a snake.
Nope, no thanks.
Dolls and snakes, that's all you. Hey, Deacon, that's all you.
But I need a shot of whiskey first. Give me a cup of courage.
Yeah, take that brave juice before you're messing with snakes.
Oh, I'll wear a purple suit and everything. I look like Bernie Mac. All right, guys, this was a fun show. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. I mean, we've had a bump in subscribers and views, so that's pretty exciting stuff. Tell people about this horrible show. And I'm joking. It's a great show. I mean, you guys, SOS works really hard keeping the show going. I just show up. I'm like that cat that you feed once and just kept showing up. Anyways, so I would like to thank our guest, Birdie, the dirty bird, Birdie, for being a guest on the show. And actually, I would like them to be a regular. That would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We would love it.
Yeah, let's do it. So
one of the gang.
Yeah. So yeah, guys, like and subscribe. Check the show out. Go on over to where can they buy that beautiful hoodie you're wearing?
Oh, well, I can have them made. So, if they want to go on to Pocatello Paranormal Research on Facebook, send me a message and I can talk to you about having them made. This is on the back too.
Oh,
So it's
nice.
pretty cool.
Wow, that'll get you
Yeah,
ready for anything. All right, guys, and
that's
remember
right.
to always look both ways, especially if you find yourselves on Nightmare Road.